yours to our Sunday service.
All right, we're talking about being alive today, being in the body, and this beautiful spirit that is always experiencing through our physical presence. So let's celebrate just that. I woke up this morning joyful as can be. That's how I spend my day, and that's how I'll sleep. I woke up this morning joyful as can be. That's how I spend my day, and that's how I'll sleep. I woke up this morning joyful as can be. That's how I spend my day, and that's how I'll sleep. I woke up this morning joyful as can be. That's how I spend my day, and that's how I'll sleep. 'Cause I love being alive. It's the greatest thing about my life. Oh, I love being alive. It's the greatest thing about my life. I woke up this morning grateful as can be. That's how I spend my day, and that's how I'll sleep. Grateful for my body. I woke up this morning grateful as can be. Grateful for my breath. That's how I spend my day, and that's how I'll sleep. 'Cause I love being alive. It's the greatest thing about my life. It's just so simple. I love being alive. It's the greatest thing about my life. Okay. Let's come up with some adjectives for body-related things. I think maybe like snuggly would be good. What's like a body-related adjective? Ooh, energetic. How about that? I woke up this morning energetic as can be. That's how I spend my day, and that's how I'll sleep. I woke up this morning energetic as can be. That's how I spend my day, and that's how I'll sleep. Or maybe snuggly. I woke up this morning snuggly as can be. So on, that's how I spend my day, and that's how I'll sleep. Or hungry. I woke up this morning hungry as can be. But I won't spend my day that way, 'cause I'll finally eat. Because I love being alive. It's the greatest thing about my life. Oh, I love being alive. It's the greatest thing about my life. I love being alive in this body. It's the greatest thing about my life. And one more time. I love being alive. It's the greatest thing about my life.
Woo-hoo. Being alive too. Awesome. Thank you for that. So let me welcome our practitioner of the day, Reverend Leslie Massopust, who is going to kick off our time together. Well, Jessica kicked it off, but she's going to keep that energy rolling with an opening prayer, an invocation. We invoke our awareness of the presence of the divine.
As we join together, we realize how blessed we are to have this opportunity to come together to learn more of the higher power in our life and how it works and how we use it. We're also blessed by having Reverend Michelle as the facilitator for this morning's lesson. For we know that Spirit is right at the center of this gathering, and it knows individually for each of us what it is that we are longing for in our lives. And by the fact that we have made the decision to be here, it provides for us. And it provides for us in body, mind, and spirit. And for this, we are so very, very thankful. And I end this prayer this morning with a word and interpretation I saw on Facebook that was pasted by Reverend Michelle. And the word is abracadabra. And its interpretation is, I create as I speak. And so it is. The soul needs a physical body here, else it would not have evolved one. But when by reason of disease, decay, or accident, the physical body is no longer an adequate instrument through which the soul may function, it lays the present body aside and continues to operate in a more subtle one. And that comes from the Sides of Mind textbook on page 374. My body is a work in progress. It is a vehicle for the soul. It is beautiful today as it was yesterday and will be tomorrow. The author on that is unknown. And now, if you will join me in consciousness as I do the affirmation for the month of June. My body is a temple of the living spirit. It is a spiritual substance. The supreme being, ever present, exists at the very center of my thoughts, feelings, and actions. This presence within me has the power to make all things new, and so it is. We're talking about our bodies today, and it is a wonderful instrument that serves us. So I would like to go into our silence today with thoughts on how this body serves us. And as we come together in our virtual presentation, we give thanks for the energy of the body and all the ways that it serves us. And so it is.
Thank you so much, Leslie. Your invocation was beautiful. And back to Jessie.
All right.
She's going to keep us rocking and rolling here.
Oh, do you want me to rock and roll?
Whatever you feel is appropriate.
So, Reverend Michelle and I, before we started, we're talking a little bit about the masculine and feminine and how everything is created through this lovemaking of the masculine and feminine energetically, but then also in the physical world. So this song is about the love story between form and formless, physical and divine, or I should say physical and non-physical, because it's all divine. Here we go. Wind-blown hair running on the forest floor. New love in the summer when the air was warm. You rolled in like a thunderstorm. In the summer when I was born, we danced in the falling of the autumn leaves. Together every season's a gift to receive. Real love, it changes 'cause it's always free. To live and die like autumn leaves. You're in the silence, you're in the still. I know you better than I ever will. You're in the silence, you're in the still. It's always been you. It's always been you. And it always will. Laugh out in the middle of a raging war. Real love don't need fighting for. So we pretend, but we don't keep score. Love's favorite joke is war. Our love so endless, our love so deep. All is surrender, all is set free. Our love so endless, our love so deep. It's always been you. It's always been you. And I have loved you all my life, and now my hands are open, and I have loved you all my life, and now my eyes are open. It's always been you. It's always been you. It's always been you. It's always been you. And it always will. There's a love song that you can sing to your body.
That was beautiful. Thank you so much, Jessie. Really enjoyed that. Just gorgeous. Oh, well, here we are. So happy to see all of you. Good morning and welcome to One Heart, One Mind Center for Spiritual Living's online Sunday service. And June's theme is body, as you may have guessed. And all month we're exploring the idea of living everyday wonder through the experience of the magnificence and the divinity of the body. And last week I spoke to you about the way we define the word body in the Science of Mind teaching. You know, not only do we use it to refer to our own human physical bodies, but we also use the word body to describe everything in creation itself, which is everything in physical form, you know, the cause of all things, God, spirit, universal mind, so many names. Creative law is the action that brings that into form for us. All of the things that exist within this God consciousness are brought into form through the action of creative law. And the body is the form or the effect expressing as creation from everything from atoms to galaxies. And Ernest Holmes, our founder, called everything in physical form, I love this, the manifest body of God. Isn't that great? And he wrote this, he wrote, I'm sorry, I'm tripping on my own words right here. We live in a universe of infinite substance and numberless forms, wherein nothing is moved unless intelligence moved it in accord with law. So the divine presence is the cause, the infinite substance expressing in the numberless forms that we see all around us in the physical world. And all things are brought into being through this action of creative law. It's really quite the wonderful creative process. And all of creation is the way in which this universal presence, God, Spirit, the all that is, individualizes itself in all of the varieties of life. Multiplicity from unity is what we say. And last week, I also talked a lot about the changeable nature of body or physical form and how we see that all around us, nature changes, our bodies change, ideas and perspectives change, the world changes, the universe itself changes. And here Holmes wrote that, now this one I have, kind of messed that last one up. Creation is the passing of spirit into form and is eternally going on. Everything in physical form is in the process of constant change. Creation is constantly, infinitely going on. Creative law responds to the original thought of God or universal mind consciousness, and then individualizes through us. And our thoughts and our feelings are also creative because we're individualized expressions of this one, of God's Spirit. And we share its creative nature. And in this way, our minds and our bodies are these sacred vehicles or vessels with which God moves and expresses in creation, in physical form. And we are empowered to participate with it or to co-create with this divine presence. So that's kind of a quick Science of Mind 101 review, always a good thing. But it's always good to focus on a different area. In this area, we're kind of focusing on the end product of the creative process, the body, the world of creation, the manifest body of God, as Holmes called it. So I was listening to a video by Neil deGrasse Tyson. You probably know who he is. He's a remarkable astrophysicist. He's a teacher and a lecturer. He's kind of the rock star of astrophysicists. So I was watching this video, YouTube video, and in it he described the universe and our place in it so profoundly that I was inspired to share a piece of it with you. He described how intimately connected we are to all of creation, how we're not just in the universe, but how the universe is in us, how we truly are one with everything. And he's speaking from a physical level, which of course is what we're talking about this month. And he talks about how the elements that make up the universe are the same ones that make up our bodies. So in the video, Neil deGrasse Tyson is being interviewed. And so the interviewer asks him, what is the most astounding fact that you can share with us about the universe? And here's his answer. I really felt like when I was listening to it, it was sort of like this spiritual contemplation. And I transcribed some of it, not all of it, but you can go to YouTube and find it. It's pretty good. So here's what he said in answering that question. He said, the most astounding fact about the universe is the knowledge that the atoms that comprise life on Earth, the atoms that make up the human body, are traceable to the crucibles of giant stars. These stars were the nurseries for the elements of life. in their later years, these stars went unstable. They collapsed and then they exploded, scattering their enriched guts. I love that line, their enriched guts across the galaxy. Guts made of carbon and nitrogen, oxygen, and all the fundamental ingredients of life itself. And all these ingredients became gas clouds that condensed and formed the next generation of solar systems, stars with orbiting planets. And those planets now have the ingredients for life itself. So that when I look up, and here's the part that I really love, because then he makes it so very personal. He says, so when I look up at the night sky, I know that yes, we are part of this universe. We are in this universe. But perhaps more important than both of these facts is that the universe is in us. When I reflect on this fact and I look up, I don't feel small, I feel big, because my atoms came from those stars. And there's a level of connectivity, and that's really what you want in life, to feel connected and relevant. You want to feel like you're a participant in the activity and events around you, which is precisely what we are just by being alive. And that is precisely what we are, just by being alive. We are in the universe, and the universe is in us, just as we are in God and God is in us. We are literally made from star stuff. I think it was Carl Sagan who coined that. And because we know this, it follows that we are also one with the creator of all things as well. You know, we share its nature. We're co-creators, participants with the source of all things. And our bodies, we begin to view our bodies as these sacred vessels or vehicles through which divine source reveals itself. I mean, it comes out to play through us. And we live in a physical universe that is saturated, I mean, dripping with divinity, and filled with possibility. And it's up to us to use it. And the more that we embrace and appreciate and implement the qualities of our true nature, the same quality as the divine, in our lives, the richer and more abundant and joyous our lives become. And the more we contribute positively to the entire whole of humanity, the entire human family, and really all life on planet Earth. So I think really by recognizing the value and the worth of our own human bodies and our human lives, we're invited, and I would go out on a limb and go so far as to say that we have the responsibility to contribute to the whole of life. And this doesn't have to be a burden. It's a gift. It can be a joy. On the contrary, I don't know about how you feel, but when I recognize my connection with the whole of life on all planes of existence, the invisible and the visible, I'm inspired and I'm motivated to bring life to the best of my ability into action, in the divinity that is within me. I'm called to bring it forward and experience it and share it. You know, I know that when I do that, I'm contributing to the whole of collective consciousness, the entire experience of the collective humanity. You know, and isn't that why we come together in a community? Because it reminds us, either consciously or unconsciously, of our oneness with our creator and with each other's. Community fosters a sense of comfort and belonging. You know, even if we're introverts, even if you're an introverted person, we still have, through our connection with others, we still thrive and we still have a desire to belong. And as human beings, we connect with everything through relationships, you know, people, objects, situations, institutions. We're hardwired for relationship. We know God through relationship. That's why we tend to personify God, because it's easier to be in relationship with a personality than it is with a presence. Although I have to admit that over the years, it's become much easier for me to be in relationship with the presence. But we come together in community to be in relationship with each other. And I think I've shared this with you before, but the origin of the word community comes from the Latin communitas, com meaning together, and munitas means fellowship or service. So we could define community as we come together in fellowship and service. And that's really what One Heart, One Mind is all about. And all of the Centers for Spiritual Living, really all spiritual traditions, you know, whether you meet in a mosque or a temple or outdoors, that's what community does. It comes together. We come together to be in fellowship and service to each other, to ourselves, to each other, to the world. So I don't know if you saw the e-newsletter this week, but if you did, you saw that there was a new graphic at the top of the e-newsletter. So we formed this committee to come together to revisit our vision statement for One Heart, One Mind. We really hadn't looked at it since we went completely online. And because, as I just said, life is constantly changing, and we know that's true, including our spiritual community, we thought we should revisit our vision statement and our mission statement. And the vision statement is the vision that we want to cast into the world. And the mission statement is how we support that vision in the world, casting that vision in the world. And we decided to do something a little bit different this time around, and you may have noticed that. So I'm going to share with you the vision first. Let me get my, so the vision statement that we wrote, I think there were 5 of us that came together and did this. And here's our new vision statement that we came up with. One Heart, One Mind Center for Spiritual Living is an inclusive spiritual center that invites people to openly explore spirituality in a community committed to connection, to growth, and service. I love that. I don't know why I capitalized service, but it's kind of appropriate because that's what I'm talking about today. But connection, growth, and service. I really like what we came up with. But you know, we online now, but we're planning some in-person social events for those of us that live in the San Diego area, and Yvonne's going to tell us about some of those later. And as a community, what we do is we cast our vision for the personal and collective growth of our community and how we will be in service to ourselves, to each other, and to humanity as a whole. Generally, we're in service to life because life kind of covers it all. And for our mission statement, we decided to use a visual or a graphic to communicate it in a clear, but kind of a different way, you know, a mission statement with a twist. And so our committee, I'll show it to you in a second, but our committee came up with a design, and our super talented Jean Perkle created the graphic. But honestly, we have to give credit where credit is due. You know, we got the idea from Dr. Lisa Rankin's book, Mind Over Medicine. It's used in some science in my classes, so you may know it. But she uses this stack of rocks, which is called a cairn. A cairn is a man-made pile of stones that is perfectly balanced to stand on its own. You know, it's often used, you've probably seen them. It's often used as landmarks to guide travelers, and, you know, you see them around. But Rankin uses the cairn as a visual model for her patients. And she uses them as a way to have a visual of how to perfectly balance their health and their well-being. You know, it kind of contains all the aspects that will support them in living their best life. And she uses it like a doctor might use a prescription, you know, something to support you in bringing your body and your life into perfect balance and harmony, homeostasis, we call that. So we thought, why not use that for our center? And we turned our cairn into this visual mission statement. And in it, it contains all of the aspects that support our center. So I'm gonna share it with you, because I'm sure you want to see it now, since I've been talking about it. Okay. Here's the mission statement. Let me get the card up. And I wasn't sure how to say it. It's spelled C-A-I-R-N, but it's pronounced Kern. And as you can see, on the bottom, we have, on the bottom and the sides, we kind of have the 4 basic principles that kind of guide our center: openness, sacred service, community, and connection. And then at the very bottom, we have our science of mind principles and science of mind treatment, which is one of the main spiritual practices that we use: relationships, education, commitment. You have to be committed. Spiritual practice, inclusion. I'm going to scroll up. Wholeness, abundance, and joy. And we wanted to put joy on the top because that is the, I forget who, Meister Eckhart says the joy is the presence of the divine. That's not exactly how it goes. But anyway, so this is our visual mission statement, and all of these qualities, and probably many more, but these are the main ones that we came up with, are what our center stands on as we come together in spiritual community and dedicated to connection and growth and service. So if you didn't see the e-newsletter, I'll put it in again next week so you can check it out. It's pretty stinking cool. So we really wanted to share that with you today. So, you know, in science of mind, we have these spiritual principles, unchanging principles that are universal constants, changeless, things like God is love. We are one with divine presence. Law is always responding to our thoughts and our feelings. You know, there's a lot of them, but these are the changeless universal principles that are constant, that we can stand on. And then we also have spiritual practices, you know, the tools that support us in bringing the spiritual principles alive in our daily lives. Things like affirmative prayer, or what we call spiritual mind treatment, meditation, sacred giving, sacred study, sacred service, which of course was one of the qualities that we drew on for our vision statement. And what we do is we cast a vision for our center that as a community, we are dedicated to the idea of being in service to ourselves and to others, and to contribute in a positive way to the whole of life. You know, and we know that when we care for our own well-being, our own body and soul, then we're more available and more inspired and more motivated to support others, you know, through all kinds of times, through both challenging times and celebratory times. And that's what community does, comes together to move through the events that we meet in life. So I got to thinking, my husband says that's always a dangerous thing. So I got to thinking about this whole idea of our bodies and our human lives being these sacred vessels for the divine to express itself, and how we can use the spiritual practice of sacred service as a way to live our daily lives. You know, and this practice honestly is taught in virtually every spiritual tradition or spiritual philosophy, you know, across the globe. And I wanted to bring out one thing that I thought of as I was putting it together. In the Bhagavad Gita, I can usually say that so well, I don't know why I'm stumbling on. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Hindu sacred text, it's actually this epic tale of a prince named Arjuna who is going into battle. And he's feeling very conflicted, and suddenly he realizes, you know, these are his cousins that he's about to war with, and he's feeling very conflicted about the whole thing of, is this really what I'm supposed to do? And then suddenly he realizes that his charioteer is actually the Lord Krishna, which is a major deity in Hinduism. And the entire Gita is a conversation between Arjuna and Lord Krishna. And in chapter 12, he talks about this. I want to do it. Where's my quote page? Oh, it went on the floor. He talks about this, and this is Krishna speaking to Arjuna. And here's what he says to him. He says, "So I recommend that you quiet your mind and fix your thought on me as the best way for you. But if you cannot, then learn to do so through the regular practice of meditation. And if you lack the will for such self-discipline, then practice selfless service. Here's the part that I love. Then practice selfless service and let everything you do be an act of worship. So what if we let everything we do in our lives become an act of service to ourselves and to life? What if, rather than seeing the small and the large tasks we do every day as things we just have to get through, what if we approach them instead with a sense of presence, of being in the moment, and even a sense of gratitude for being able to do them? You know, there are many, many ways to be in service. We could compile a huge list if we wanted to, and I know people have. Anything from praying daily for world peace to working in the streets with the homeless and everything in between. Anything can be a service. To be in service as a spiritual practice is allowing whatever activity we're doing to move us out of our small separate selves and into our larger divine selves. It's really the recognition of our divinity as we're doing humanity, you know, and there are certain aspects that really bring service alive as a spiritual practice. And so I'm just going to briefly kind of run through, you know, and we teach this spiritual practice or spiritual service as a spiritual practice in science of mind. So if we can actually go deeper with this, maybe we can do a workshop or something. But first, we use whatever activity we're doing to move us out of this idea of doing into the state of being. To be the presence. You know, when you think of being in service, you know, maybe we think in terms of doing things, of accomplishing something for someone. However, in sacred service, we're called to pay more attention to the state of mind and the state of heart that we're engaged in the activity than actually accomplishing the activity. Does that make sense? It's really about the presence that we bring, the presence of the divine love and givingness that we bring to the activity. We really shift our focus to the quality of our being within the activity. Am I present? How do I feel? You know, am I grateful? Am I giving of myself in a way that is unrestricted? So, and then another aspect of sacred service is moving from attachment to non-attachment. You know, when we have a task in front of it, it's very easy to get attached to the outcome. I know I do. But there's a freedom in being able to let go and let whatever comes up be what comes up. To whatever comes up, and stuff does, you know, when you're doing stuff, things that you don't expect come up. And when we release our expectation of how a job has to be done and what it will accomplish, there's a sense of freedom in that. It's very similar to giving a homeless person money and not being attached to how they use the money. My part is to give, not to be attached to what they do with the money. You know, my part is simply to serve, unattached from the outcome. That is not always easy to do, especially if you're a planner or like I am. Sacred service is very much about moving out of a sense of obligation to an attitude of love. You know, we've all experienced the difference in doing something because we have to do it, as opposed to doing something because we want to do it or love to do it. You know, and if we shift our attitude from being obligated to do something to doing something that will bring love into the world, it's an entirely different experience. You know, we begin to notice the blessings and the joy of an activity, even tasks that we might not really actually enjoy doing, you know, like dishes or whatever it is. And finally, one last aspect of sacred service is moving out of a sense of duality, me and you, into a recognition of our oneness. You know, it may seem like being in service is doing things for other people, but honestly, it doesn't take long to realize that being in service benefits both participants. You know, the sense of one individual doing something for someone else can give way to the giver feeling connected to the recipient, you know, whether they're present or not. You know, the person doesn't even have to be there. You know, the moment of service couldn't exist without both participants kind of blending into that one same event. So we move into that feeling of our oneness with whomever it is that we're in service to. And really, in the grand scheme of things, we're in service to life because it's all one. So my invitation to you this week is to see yourself both spiritually and physically connected to the whole of creation, you know, and to demonstrate and practice that connection through sacred service, however that may look for you. You have to find that way that works for you, that is fulfilling for you. To just show up in the fullness of life, you know, see everything and every moment as sacred and joyous. Because not only is our divinity and our connection to source sacred, but our body and our physicality and our humanness is just as sacred. It's all one. So let's move into prayer. Let's take a nice deep centering breath in. Knowing that divine source, that creator of all things that we are one with. We just sit in that unity and that the juicy soup of the aspects of the divine that are so beautiful: beauty, wisdom, harmony, friendship, compassion, creativity, all of the good stuff. We are that. And so I speak my word for and about each and every individual in the sound, within the sound of my voice, and each and every individual that is not, that there's a shift in consciousness, an opening, a realization, a recognition, and allowing of the flow of these divine creative juices, that they move in and through our life in new and fresh ways, ways in which we have never thought possible before, ways in which we have never thought of before. But we just remain open to that divine flow. And I just give great gratitude for this ability to create, for this ability to be in this flow of divinity and to live as a human being. And as I relax in the knowing that as I speak these words, I am impressing law, I simply allow it all to be and relax in that. And I invite you to signify your agreement by saying, and so it is. And so it is. And so it is. And our new practitioner, almost practitioner, she has to do her panels, but she'll be great. She passed her test, and she is going to do our time of sacred giving for us.
Yes. Thanks, Michelle. So this is an opportunity to share in the act of conscious giving. And the offering is a sacred time to seed into the abundance and prosperity of one heart and one mind. We love the definition of prosperity that Eric Butterworth provides, and it's prosperity is the spiritual well-being. So we are seeding into what we want to see grow. What is it that you want to see grow within yourself? That is your offering. And your offering of prosperity helps to support the expansion of this spiritual community. So if you'd like, you can specify your gift for the gift of the Kindness Fund, or to support our musical ministry, or for the general fund. And there's a couple of ways you can contribute. And one is through the mobile app Venmo. And the second way would be to mail the checks into the Assistant Treasurer, Jim Massopust, and his mailing address can be found in the chat. So if we could join together in our, our affirmation of sacred giving. And if you choose to do so, you can put your hands over your heart. And together we can say, I recognize that all supply flows from the divine givingness of spirit. My gift is a continuation of this divine flow. I give and receive from this infinite supply. I give in faith, in love, and in joy, and it flows back to me in kind, and so it is.
Thank you, Jean. And Yvonne's got some announcements for us.
I have. I'll go kind of fast. I have a lot of them. Things are happening. Whew. First one, please join us on Monday evening for on Zoom for a Monday night prayer circle, where we pray for our center, One Heart, One Mind. It's from 6 to 6:20, and it's really very, very, very powerful in furthering our center, and it just feels good too. Tuesday evening, we have a spiritual learning circle from 6 to 7. It's facilitated by Michelle, Reverend Michelle, and by Practitioner Ray Lane. And we are diving deep into Eric Butterworth's book, Spiritual Economics, which is just incredible. And we will be covering chapter 3, which is the law of visualization, this week. Then on Thursday, June 23rd, so this isn't right away, but it's coming up, Rabbi David Zaslow will speak to us on Zoom, and he will help us look at the relationship between time and space, between the creation and the creator, and even our perception of God. He is a really good speaker and really knowledgeable person. So I really encourage you to put it on your calendar and plan to be there, and invite some other people that you think of that might be interested in hearing it. He's good. It's not dull and boring. The unscheduled income program is still underway. So if you haven't had any unscheduled, you need unscheduled things happen to you that will affect your pocketbook, you better get with it, because it is just really fun. And it's amazing, really amazing at how it works, how it comes. It's wonderful. Then this one, the board sent out a survey a couple of weeks ago that we'd like you to complete and send back to us. It's just about what your ideas are and what you would like to see in our center. So it would really help us a lot. If you need another copy of it or something, let Reverend Michelle know, and that'll happen. And just thank you a lot for telling us your needs and your desires. Then hold your hats on for this one. We've got a picnic coming up where we're all going to come together. Woohoo! Saturday, the 18th of June. So we don't have a lot of time. You have to focus on it. From 12 to 2 o'clock. And it's going to be at the Rancho Bernardo Community Park. And what you'll do is bring a chair and your lunch. And I believe we're providing drinks, right, Michelle?
Yeah, I'll bring drinks.
That is a really nice park. And don't get nervous about, oh my gosh, how do I find it? It's easy. It's only might be 3 miles from the Adat Shalom temple. And it's what?
Where we used to meet people.
Right, yeah, where we used to meet. And it's on Pomerado Road and West Bernardo Drive in Rancho Bernardo. It's a very big park. And you want to be at the end where, and some of you will know what I'm talking about. Some of you will be going, huh? Casa de la Campañas and Ed Brown Senior Center are both at the end of the park that we want to be at.
So I thought maybe you and I and Lisa could maybe drive there this week before I put out the e-newsletter, so I could get a very good description and put it in the e-newsletter so everybody knows exactly what.
Sure. It's a really good park, and it has a lot of parking available, and it's also at the east end of Lake Hodges. So, and there are some areas there where you can walk if you want to do something like that. So I think that's everything.
You did so well, and you were very succinct.
Good.
Yeah, maybe yeah, good idea. Okay. Okay, and now I'm going to go back to Jean Perkle. and ask her to do our benediction, please.
Wonderful. Thanks, Michelle. So let us turn within. And I'm so incredibly grateful for this amazing human form that we all share in that experience of, the vehicle that allows me to experience this divine life of good, this divine life of God, and for the five senses that create openings to bring into the experience such things as the sweet smell of jasmine, or the spicy taste of peppers, or to feel the softness of a baby's cheek, and to see the faces of the spiritual community, and to hear the words of divine wisdom of Rev. Michelle, and the uplifting music of Jesse Powers. As we launch into this fresh new moment, this fresh new week, I know that each one moves forth in freedom, peace, and love, knowing that they are both blessed and a blessing. And together we say, and so it is.
And so it is. Thank you so much. Wonderful, Jane. All right, Jesse, take us out with some music.
Alrighty. We can change the world if we want to. We can change it all if we want. Stay with me, we can be 6 feet apart. We'll bow our heads and honor that which is greater than we are. Take the pain inside your heart and give it to the light. Together we're better, so let yourself remember that tonight. Because we can change the world if we want to. We can change it all if we want. By being of service, we can change the world if we want to. Or meditating, we can change it all if we want. It isn't mine to ever know the answer to it all. But what I do know is we must go where we are called. Everything is screaming out, honey, it's all inside. Begin with me within and see the peace that we ignite. Stillness is the way. Stillness is the way. And service is the way. Service is the way. We're gonna breathe in, gonna breathe out. Maybe that's all that we can do right now. Maybe it's not ours to figure out today. Gonna be here, gonna be now. Peace of mind, gonna find us somehow. And I know that stillness is the way. Stillness is the way. Stillness is the way. And service is the way. Service is the way. Stillness is the way. Stillness is the way. Service is the way. Service is the way. And we can change the world if we want to.
Just beautiful, beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you. So that's the end of our service, but if we can have conversation afterwards if you want to